Ryan Estis told a story that captivated his audience, had them hanging on every word, and ultimately left them with a memorable message. But what was this story about? It must have been something pretty epic, right? Like climbing Mount Everest, overcoming a health condition, or maybe bungee jumping naked. Don't know where that last one came from. But the answer is no. Ryan's story was about a time when he bought a coffee in Starbucks. And that's why today I want to do a speech breakdown on Ryan's presentation. Because I want to prove to you that you can make any story not only compelling, but also profound. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to highlight 3 things that Ryan did incredibly well in his storytelling that you can use when telling your own stories at work or at home. And I also want to highlight 2 ways Ryan could even improve this story further. Because I am a speech coach and I always am looking for ways people can improve. My name's Kyle Murter. I'm a public speaking champion, coach, and author, and it's great to have you here today. One thing I will say before I get started is that I'm not going to show the full presentation that Ryan gives. I'm just going to pick out certain parts of his story. So if you want to watch the full speech in its totality, I'll put the link to that in the description below. Let's get started. So the first thing that makes Ryan's story so compelling is that he brings us into the story. Check this out.
They're going on about their holidays and their plans and the kids and presents, and she starts to move down the line. So it's my turn to order. And I was greeted with this very warm and sincere welcome. This woman said to me, "Hi, my name's Lily. What's your name?" I said, "I'm Ryan." She said, "Ryan, what can I make for you today?" I said, I want a grande pumpkin spice latte. She said, "You want whipped cream on that, don't you?" I said, yeah, I want the whipped cream. She said, "I'll tell you what I'm gonna do." She said, "I'm gonna make it extra hot, load it up with whipped cream, sprinkle a little nutmeg on top. That's how I like it. You're gonna love it." I said, "Sounds great." She said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Cleveland." She said, "Are you going back to Cleveland to spend the holiday with your family?" I said, "Yes." Now, at this point, I start looking around for the camera, right? I mean, I'm trying to get a latte at Starbucks. I'm like, and so I move down the line, and the conversation continues, and she's funny. She's asking me questions about my family and our holiday traditions. She's laughing, and I'm laughing, and she hands me my drink and says to me, "Ryan, have a safe trip back to Cleveland. Go create some extraordinary memories with your family. When you come back through the Minneapolis airport, I want you to stop here and tell me all about it."
So the cool thing here is Ryan didn't just tell us about his experience. He showed us his experience. And he did that through a combination of dialogue and staging. So dialogue. Ryan said,
"I want a grande pumpkin spice latte." She said, "You want whipped cream on that, don't you?" I said, yeah, I want the whipped cream.
And that brought us into the moment. We felt like we were listening into that conversation between him and Lily. The second thing that Ryan did was he used the stage to represent the Starbucks queue. We saw Ryan literally moving down the line having this conversation with Lily. That helps us imagine the scene, imagine the environment in our minds, which again makes the story more engaging, more compelling, and draws us into it with Ryan. The second thing I love about Ryan's speech is it has a beautiful aha moment. Check this out.
And I think to myself, it's Christmas Eve. Most people would rather be anywhere else in the world than serving coffee in an airport. Not her. It was like she was meant to be there. And I couldn't help myself. I had to go back. So I did. I walked back and I said, "Excuse me, Lily." And she jumps around. "Ryan, is everything okay with the latte?" Nice athletic stance, pumpkin whipped cream. I said, "No." I said, "The latte is perfect. I just had to come back and ask you, what is your secret to making such meaningful connections over serving coffee. Well, she corrected me. She said, Ryan, I'm not serving coffee. I said, okay, what are you doing? She had thought about this. And what she told me was, I'm pouring happiness into people's lives.
All good stories have a strong mentor. And in this case, Ryan's mentor is Lily. And Lily provides that aha moment. I'm not pouring coffee, I'm pouring happiness. And that profound message there makes us think a little bit differently, because it's not just about coffee. It's about everything that you do. It's about every action you take. You have a choice just to do that thing or do it with happiness, do it with joy, do it with a smile. That's the meaning behind those words. And you want to try and make sure that your story has an aha moment of some kind as well. And this will most likely come from the mentor figure which you choose to select in your story. So try to think about that, who the mentor could be and what advice they would give you which would have an aha moment on the audience. Because if you can do that, you're going to make your story more memorable for them. Finally, I love how Ryan concludes this story. Watch this.
Decide how you show up. You know, it's interesting, when I met Lily, and she would have had no way of knowing this, but I was pretty heavy in the heart and had a lot on my mind. My parents, both retired school teachers, married 45 years. About 3 months before that holiday, I got a call from Mom. We got some really tough medical news about Dad. And it was a terminal diagnosis, and we knew we probably weren't going to have a lot of time. So I was sitting in that airport on Christmas Eve, not in the best place in the world. I will never forget that cup of coffee. When you decide to show up consistently as the best version of who you are, it gives you your best opportunity to meet people where they are. And you never know when someone needs you to be your best.
When you're telling a story, you always need to end with a key point. And Ryan's key point is profound. Decide how you will show up, because you never know when someone needs you to be at your best. And what's fantastic about this is what Ryan is advising is what Ryan learned from Lily and receiving that coffee which was full of happiness. So it's beautiful that there's synergy between what the story showed and what Ryan is now advising to do. And you need to make sure that your story and your message are connected as well, so that there's unity between the two. So how could Ryan improve? Well, I've got 2 suggestions. Number 1, near the end of Ryan's story, he shared that his dad was given a terminal diagnosis and that he was feeling pretty down that day when he came into the airport. I think it would have made the story structure stronger if he had told that, if he had given us that information at the beginning of the story. Because then we have the context that Ryan is actually feeling pretty down, and then he meets Lily. She pours some happiness into his life, and therefore it makes such a difference, and he feels better, he feels higher in spirits after meeting Lily. And that would have shown the effects of deciding how you show up, deciding to give out some happiness, to pour happiness into others' lives. It would have showed the benefit of doing that even more clearly. So that's the first suggestion for improvement. My second suggestion is that although I love Ryan's message, he actually does have another message worming its way into this presentation. Watch this.
She gets to really important principles of meeting customers where they are in the new economy. And the first one is, instead of just focusing on how to be successful, focus on how to be helpful.
When you have 2 messages in your presentation, it can mean that the audience can get split. Some people will follow and take on board this message, other people will take on board that message. And therefore, you're not necessarily controlling what everyone in the presentation leaves with. Because the reality is, 1 week after your presentation, the audience will only remember 5% of what you said. So you have to decide what that 5% will be. And for that reason, it's much more effective to just have one key message in your presentation. That way, your story, your points, your energy can all be directed towards emphasizing that as much as possible. So in summary, here are the key storytelling lessons we can learn from Ryan. Number 1, bring the audience into your story through dialogue and staging. Number 2, make sure you have a mentor figure who gives profound advice in your story, which will ultimately change your audience's perspective. And then number 3, have a message to your story. Make sure that your story is leading to a key point that will impact the audience. And in terms of improvements, if you are sharing something personal, bring that up front so it heightens the stakes of the story. And of course, make sure you've only got one message in your story, not 2. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm doing more of these speech breakdowns. If you would like to suggest a person I should break down next in terms of their speech, not physically, put it in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to take a look at their presentation. And of course, if you have a big presentation coming up, whether that be a TED Talk, a keynote, a workshop that means a lot to you, I'd love to help you in a one-to-one capacity. I can give you feedback just like I've given Ryan here today. If that interests you, send me an email at kyle@confidencebydesign.co.uk. Overall, make sure you tell stories in your presentations. And if you use some of the tips you've learned today, hey, maybe you'll pour some happiness into the lives of your audience.